So, Black Friday, AirPods Pro 2 were on sale for like $150. So I tried being an audio normie for a couple of weeks. How did it go? All right, so an audio normie, what do I mean by that? Well, if you're new to the channel, I'm a big audiophile. That's what this channel is basically about, right? Like I try tons of headphones, and we're not talking just like, $100 gaming headphones. We're talking like thousands of dollar headphones. I've gone through thousands of dollars of amps and DACs and stereos and all this stuff, right? So I guess my question really is could I get by with something like an AirPods Pro 2 and just basically use this and not use any of my other audio setups? And, would I be happy with it? And, the results, I don't know. The results were kind of a mixed bag, honestly. There were some cases where I was really happy. And then, but I'm a crazy audiophile for a reason, right? So let's talk about this experience, right? So I've been pretty anti AirPods Pros. I had the original AirPod Pros for a little bit. Wasn't really impressed with the sound of them. Wasn't super impressed with the noise canceling. Just they didn't impress me overall. For that purpose, I've been using Anchor Space A40s, which I'll link down below if you're looking for just like a super cheap true wireless set. Those met my needs for like 2 years. I used those things and just never really found anything that I liked better for the price. I had Sony's at one point, but they died on me after not too long. And I just couldn't bite the bullet on AirPod Pro 2s for, $250, even though I am an Apple user. Like I have a Mac, I use a Mac for work, I have an iPad, I have an iPhone. So it makes sense that I would use AirPod Pros, but based on my experience with the first generation, I just wasn't impressed. Well, with Black Friday rolling around and them coming down to almost like $150, I was like, okay, I'm going to give them another try. And I'm going to give them an honest try. I'm not going to like A-B them against anything. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to use them and see if I'm happy using them was basically the test, okay? So if you know anything about, AirPods and Apple and the Apple ecosystem and stuff, is just like, it is so seamless to use these things. I mean, you pop them out of the phone, you put them in, your phone recognizes it instantly. Once you go into, if you go into the audio settings on your phone, you get all these different little special audio features that you can tweak and things like that. It really is a fantastic user experience as far as just like the control of, these and the control of your sound. And all of that I thought was pretty nice. The pairing was nice. The control over it was nice. They work phenomenal in that regard. I was also very impressed with the noise canceling. The noise canceling is top notch on these compared to the things that I've tried, right? Which I haven't tried like all the latest and greatest in like noise canceling true wireless systems, but I've tried a good number of them, enough to know that this is really good, right? More than that though, I was really impressed with the pass-through mode. The pass-through mode on these sounds so good. It's almost like you're not even wearing anything, and people's like voices and stuff sound really natural too. So if someone walks up and is talking to you, it doesn't sound like all weird and compressed like it does with a lot of the true wireless systems I've tried. It actually sounds really, really good. So for that purpose, I think these are phenomenal. It has like a conversation mode that you can turn on and off if we look at the settings in here. And what that does is like as soon as it hears somebody talking to you, or as soon as you start talking to somebody, it'll like mute your audio, or not mute it, but it takes it way down so you can actually talk to them and stuff. I prefer just to pause it because sometimes I would start singing along or something and it would like do that. So I don't know, you just gotta kind of get used to it. But it's there if you like that sort of a thing. I personally just prefer, like I said, to just like pause my music and talk to somebody, or take it out better, more probably like appropriate as far as just like being a kind and courteous person to whoever you're talking to, is to actually like let them know that you're listening. But that's probably another teacher rant that I'm not going to get into right now. So what else about these? The spatial audio. So it's really interesting that you can do like the head tracking and like, so let's say this camera is my audio source. If I start to turn my head like this, like the sound will change to where it'll sound like it's still coming from over there as opposed to just being all around. That I think could be kind of interesting in the right instance, but I would say all in all, that's not for me. I'm such a headphone listener anyway that like I don't like my audio being messed with. Like the reason why I like using headphones so much is because I maintain like a perfect audio situation regardless of me like moving my head or where I'm sitting in the room. Or that's kind of why I like headphones, right? So that's not really for me, but it's interesting, I would say, and it's done fairly well. It's not like it's done poorly. It's just not for me in general. Yeah, hey, jumping in here real quick, obviously, different color flannel headphones, all that. But anywho, I just want to let you know that I have, since filming this, watched a whole movie using the AirPod Pros 2 with spatial audio on, but not head tracking. And I guess I didn't understand at that moment in time that I could turn on the spatial without the head tracking. And what I would say is this: I'm not sure about music, but with The Creator, the movie The Creator, which is awesome, by the way, you should watch it for sure. But with that movie, spatial audio was awesome, and I definitely preferred listening to spatial audio for that movie as opposed to having it off. So I think there's a little more going on there that I'll need to dive into a little bit. But I just wanted to say that so I didn't mislead people thinking, spatial audio is no good at all, because I think there's something to it for sure. All right, back to the review. So again, all those features work really good. The other thing that seems to work really good is like I would never take a call with my Space A40s. Like I tried it at some points in time, and I would always get people be like, "I can't hear you. What are you saying?" Blah blah blah. Not with these. Like with these, I actually take calls, and people. Like, it's just like I'm taking a normal phone call. Like, nobody comments on the audio, which in my mind says that it's doing okay. So just as a test here, let's do a little audio from these. Okay, so I'm just doing a voice memo recording now on my phone. This is audio coming from the AirPod Pros 2. Again, you know, no audio coming from a true wireless system like this is going to sound top notch, but I think these are passable. Like I said, people are used to it enough that they're not going to be immensely put off by it. I mean, it's not like you'd use these to record audio for a video or something like that, but I think in general they get the job done, which is probably the purpose, more or less, right? Okay, so all that being said, comfort. Let's talk about comfort real quick, and then we'll start getting into like the audio quality experience. So comfort-wise, I think they're fantastic. I've been wearing them a lot. I haven't noticed any problems. I'm just using the regular size tips. It always felt really good to me. I even would fall asleep with them in a couple of times. They're comfortable. They're very comfortable. Obviously, you're not gonna like lay your head on a pillow with these in, but in general, for true wireless headphones like this, I feel like they are quite comfortable and fit my ears quite well. So just all the daily use stuff, the wireless charging, comfort, all that stuff works really, really well. I don't think anybody is going to dispute that. What about the audio quality? Well, what I would tell you is I've generally been pretty impressed with the audio quality of these. If you are just using these and you're not A/Bing them with anything else, you're not combing through it with like a fine-tooth comb, on the edge of your seat listening, you're wanting to listen to music on the go while you're working, while you're doing whatever. These get the job done and they sound pretty good. I would call it a tame consumer tuning, which by that means it's like a slight V shape. There's definitely elevated bass here, but the bass sounds pretty good as far as like detail and texture goes. There's a little bit of boost in energy towards, the upper mids, lower treble, right? That'd be the V shape where, the mid bass and the mid range is pulled down just a little bit to, it makes things sound more exciting, honestly. That being said, I mean, it is more of a compressed sound. You're not getting like a full dynamic range like you're going to with like really expensive headphones or really expensive IEMs, but I don't think, again, anybody's really expecting that with these. So I would say if you come into these with reasonable expectations, you're probably going to be pretty happy. And I would say just as good as it all works with an Apple ecosystem for $150. Like, one thing that was kind of cool is I sat down and went to use my computer with these to try it out before I did this review, just thinking like, oh, I probably should try it just to see how it works. I didn't even have to pair them or anything. I started using my computer, I put these in, and my computer knew that I was using these and sent the audio to them. That's pretty awesome for the average person. So just the seamless use case, right? They nailed it with all that stuff. I also think the form factor of the case is fantastic. The clickiness of like the smoothness of the hinge and the snappiness in which it closes, that's just super satisfying. I find myself fidgeting with it in my pocket, just doing that, because I've had these with me pretty much 24/7 while I've been out and about. And at work and things like that since I bought them. And I think it's all good for that. Because of that, though, I also bought this little silicone case for them. I'll link it down below. It's like $6 or something on Amazon. It was very cheap, but just as it's rolling around in my pocket with other things, keys, pocket knives, stuff like that, I didn't want to scuff up the case too bad. So this is a nice way to add a little bit of texture so it doesn't slip out of your hands, out of your pocket as easily, but also you don't have to worry that you're scuffing it up and nicking up your $150, AirPods case type of stuff. I think all that's worked really good, okay? However, this was the kicker. I was doing great being an audio normie until the other day I went with my wife and her family for her birthday. We went to see Wicked in the theater, which I'm not a huge musical guy, but my wife's family, they're really into it. And, I did enjoy the movie. And then Cynthia, the woman that plays the Wicked Witch, I'm blanking, Elphaba, I think is her name. Man, I was just blown away by her voice. So I wanted to come home and I wanted to listen, to some of those songs again and just kind of tune into her and appreciate what she can do. Well, that's when the AirPod Pros started to fall a little short. And that's when I was like, okay, she sounds good on these, but I want to know what she can really do and I want to really hear it. And that's when I ended up, using my stereo, and I ended up coming down and using my, expensive headphones and things like that. And then that got me thinking after doing that, because obviously, a nice stereo, $1,000, $2,000 set of headphones, they're going to outperform these. No question about that. And I was really enjoying myself, and I was like, yeah, it is nice to hear them on some high dollar stuff. But that got me thinking, though. Okay. So these are great for average listening. They're great for functionality. For $150, if you went wired with IEMs, how would that compare? So that's when I busted out the test with the Moondrop Dawn Pro here, which this is my favorite kind of little, this is a $50 DAC dongle, right? So if you don't know, you plug this into your phone with a USB cable, and then it'll send the audio through this. And this particular model, it's got, a 3.5 millimeter jack. So for your standard audio devices, and it's got a 4.4 balance too, in case you want to use balanced. If you don't know what balanced is, don't worry about it, but it's a whole thing to get into. Anyway, so I paired it with this, and then I have my Meze Albas here. And these are kind of my favorite IEM in that, they're a reasonable price. I think they're around like a little over $100, between $100 and $150. I don't know off the top of my head. They're very comfortable. They're very small. They do a really good, clean audio sound. They're very audiophile, meaning that they have a pretty flat tuning. They're focused more on like dynamics and true to life sound, if you want to call it that, as opposed to messing with the EQ and anything like that a bit. And I would have to say that comparing these to the AirPod Pros 2, it is night and day difference, honestly. The audio quality from the Meze Albas is significantly, coming from the Dawn Pro, is significantly better than what's coming out of the AirPod Pros 2. Again, is that really a shocker? I wouldn't say so. I think most people in the audio community would say duh to that. But again, I had been enjoying the AirPod Pros 2 enough that I thought it was worth just kind of confirming that for myself. Now, of course, there's a big trade-off here when you're talking about using a setup like this, is you're introducing a whole bunch of wires. Obviously, you have to plug it into your phone. You can't, I don't know, it's kind of an ordeal to listen to IEMs like this. Like, it's not something you would probably want to do on the go, really, but if you're sitting down at your desk, you can plug these in. If you're not moving around a lot, you can shove this in your pocket and it would be fine. But it's definitely not anywhere near the convenience level of using the AirPod Pros 2. So, I think at the end of all of this, I think what surprised me most about this experience is just that I actually really enjoy using the AirPods Pro 2 a lot of the time. And I wasn't really expecting that. Is it going to satisfy your audiophile tendencies? I don't think so. I think even something like the Dawn Pro and the Alba could be a good enough solution for a lot of people. But I think ultimately, this is good consumer sound is what I would say. This is a great consumer product. And I don't use consumer as a bad word. I use it as a word saying like most people will enjoy this and enjoy using this, like it. This will be enough for most people. If you're an audiophile already, or if you think you might be leaning in the audiophile direction, then I do think it is worth pursuing some more expensive wired stuff, some dedicated DAC amps, some dedicated wired IEMs. There's still a lot of great wired IEMs that are pretty cheap, less than the price of this, that like you could try with something like the Dawn Pro and you can experiment a lot and really hone in on what sound you really like. But that's only if you want to deal with it, right? That's only if you want to deal with wires and amps and DACs and all this stuff. If you don't, then just know that the AirPod Pros 2 are great. Right, they're fantastic. It is a fantastic device. It's just not going to be for hardcore audiophiles. At least not when they're sitting down to do serious listening. If you're using them on the go, at work, things like that, yeah, fantastic. I'm going to keep these for sure, and I'm going to use them a lot. It will probably be my most used audio product this year, honestly. Like, I will use these a ton, but if I want to sit down and critically listen, they're not going to cut it. And that's when I'm going to move to something else. But for 75% of my listening, these guys do absolutely great. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap up this video. I do actually want to do a little bit more with the AirPod Pro 2 because my father-in-law actually has like hearing aids, and this is now like an FDA approved hearing aid. So I think we're going to do maybe a little collab video on that and get kind of his perspective on the AirPod Pros 2, both from just a normal person audio, enjoyment, but also from somebody who like uses hearing aids and how these work for that, which I think will be pretty interesting. Okay. So we got more to come with this, but in general, I'm left impressed with the AirPods Pros 2. It satisfied my itch to know about them. And I'm happy I bought them for $150 because I'm using the heck out of them and I'm going to continue to use the heck out of them. So, I think they're a great product. They're just not audiophile, and that's okay. They don't have to be, right? For that, we have other things. So, thanks for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, I really appreciate you being here. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you as always for your time listening and your support. Of course, if you have thoughts or opinions on this, feel free to drop all those in the comments below. And with that being said, hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.